Welcome back. All right, so in the continuing playlist of teams over the last 20 years in their playoff histories, dating from 1999-2000 through until 2020-2021, today we're going to talk about the Ducks. And, of course, it's the Mighty Ducks and Anaheim Ducks. Mighty Ducks of Anaheim as this gets going, and then they became the Anaheim Ducks after that. Now, this eventually would be their jersey, which included this uncomfortable neckline, which they didn't keep, and I'm glad they didn't keep it. I'm glad this was never a thing that was done by Reebok because it is uncomfortably tight around the neck. They in Colorado both had those necklines, and I think they're the only teams that had them. I'm just thinking back. I think they're the only ones that had them. I'll go through the collection at some point and just show them and go, see, these are uncomfortable. So, discomfort aside, we're going to look at this starting with 99-2000. And Anaheim was a good, not necessarily great franchise out of the gate. 99-2000, 34, 33, 12, and 3 was their record. So mediocre record, no playoffs. Paul Kariya is their leading scorer. 74 games, 42 goals, 44 assists, 86 points. 2000-2001, they crashed out that year. Paul Kariya's team, 25, 41, 11, and 5 was the record, so no playoffs again. And Kariya's the leading scorer again. 66 games, 33 goals, 34 assists, 67 points. Paul Kariya was the face of the franchise, right? 2001-2002, they finished 29, 42, 8, and 3. Again, no playoffs. Paul Kariya's the leading scorer, 82 games, 32 goals, 25 assists, 57 points. The 32 goals he'd be happy with. 57 points, not so much. 2002-2003, the team has a very good season, 40, 27, 9, and 6, at least comparatively speaking with the others, and then they went on a Cinderella run in the playoffs. So first they beat Detroit in round 1 in 4 straight. And that shocked me, and I was very excited and very happy for the Ducks that night. I remember when they scored that upset and they finished it off in 4. And then in round 2, they punished me by knocking out Dallas in 6. And then in the conference final, they swept Minnesota in what was a slow series. Gonna be honest. That was the ultimate dead puck series. Anaheim and Minnesota was tough to get through. Very, very, very much so. But Anaheim made the final. And in a series where the home team wins every game, the New Jersey Devils win the Stanley Cup in 7. But that's not what people remember from that series. They remember Kariya being flattened by Scott Stevens and coming back out on the ice heroically minutes later. We look back on that now. I don't think a player would be considered a hero for coming back from that hit. I think there'd be a lot of questions asked about why he's not in the quiet room and just removed it from the game for concussion, because Kariya was clearly concussed. He's their leading scorer during the regular season, 82 games, 25 goals, 56 assists, 81 points. In the playoffs, 21 games, 6 goals, 6 assists, 12 points. He was never quite the same after the Scott Stevens hit. And it was that hit that started the NHL looking at which hits should or shouldn't be legal. At least it seemed like Scott Stevens was kind of forcing that into the conversation. He's throwing hits that at the time were considered clean, were considered fine, and that now, if he threw those hits now, there'd be a lot of questions about. But for Anaheim, 2003-2004, they go back to missing the playoffs. 29, 35, 10, and 8. So the success of the 03 playoffs is but a blip at this point. Sergei Fedorov's their leading scorer, 80 games, 31 goals, 34 assists, 65 points. 2005-2006, they're back in the playoffs. 43, 27, and 12 is their record. First round, they knocked out Calgary in 7. Second round, they knocked out Colorado in 4 straight, and then they met the Oilers in the conference finals. They lose that series 4-1. The Oilers on this amazing run. Ducks can't stop them. Solani's their leading scorer, 80 games, 40 goals, 50 assists for 90 points. In the playoffs, 16 games for Solani, 6 goals, 8 assists for 14 points. Teemu Solani, career extended by the locked-out, wiped-out season. 2006-2007, they finished 48, 20, and 14. And this is where there's some sustained success for Anaheim, right? First round, they knock out Minnesota in 5. Second round, they knocked out Vancouver in 5. And as tough as Luongo was, Vancouver just couldn't score. And then against Detroit, they beat Detroit in 6. So they go to the Stanley Cup final. They win the Stanley Cup. And they do it in 5 games against Ottawa. Really, right from the start of these playoffs, Anaheim is on a mission. They want to prove that, with Niedermayer and Pronger, they're champs. And so they get it done. Solani's their leading scorer again. 82 games, 48 goals, 46 assists, 94 points. And in the playoffs, 21 games, 5 goals, 10 assists for Solani. It was a team effort to get there for Anaheim. Some tremendous goaltending as well. And then we get into 2007, 2008, where they're trying to repeat. They finished 47, 27, and 8, which is a very good record, but they lost in the first round to Dallas. They lost in the first round in 6 games. Getzlaf's their leading scorer that year, and he would be their leading scorer a lot over the next little while here. 77 games, 24 goals, 58 assists for 82 points. In 6 playoff games, 2 goals and 3 assists for Ryan Getzlaf. 2008, 2009, they finished 42, 33, and 7, so not necessarily as solid a record as the previous 2 years, but they get out of the first round, they knock out San Jose in 6, and then against Detroit, they lost in 7. So the Detroit Red Wings knocked them out to get to on their way to a Stanley Cup final. They won the Cup, of course, in 08. They got to the final in 09 and lost to Pittsburgh in the rematch. Getzlaf's the leading scorer, 81 games, 25 goals, 66 assists for 91 points. In the playoffs, 13 games, 4 goals, 14 assists, 18 points. Very good playoff run for Getzlaf, one of the better centers in the NHL at this stage of the game. 2009, 2010, they fall out of the playoffs. 39, 32, and 11. Corey Perry's their leading scorer. 82 games, 27 goals, 49 assists for 76 points. 2010, 2011, this is Corey Perry's big year. 47, 30, and 5. But then they meet, well, their nemesis. There's a team that shows up 3 times on this board, and it's Nashville. Nashville and Anaheim is not a good matchup for Anaheim. Corey Perry was the leading scorer in that 6-game loss. He had 8 points for 2 goals and 6 assists. During the regular season, 50 goals, 48 assists, 98 points. That's the career year for Corey Perry. Everything looked great for Anaheim, and then Nashville took him out. 2011, 2012, they're back outside the playoffs. 34, 36, and 12 is their record. Solani's the leading scorer, 82 games, 26 goals, 40 assists for 66 points. So, another rough patch for them. But it doesn't last. 2012, 2013, in a lockout-shortened season, they finished 30, 12, and 6. Very good record for Anaheim. In the playoffs, they actually lose against Detroit in the first round in 7. Getzlaf's the leading scorer in 44 games, 15 goals, 34 assists for 49 points. In the playoffs, 7 games, 3 goals, 3 assists for 6 points. 2013, 2014, 54, 20, and 8's their record, so now they're above 50 wins in a season. Round 1, they take out Dallas in 6. Round 2, they lost to the Kings in 7. So we're into a stage where, and it's not a long time, but you could see that LA, Chicago, Anaheim, those were the 3 powers of the West. Not surprising that the 3 of them have gone through tough times recently because they were just so good then, and there's a lot of reasons for that, but you always have that cyclical thing in the NHL, right? So Getzlaf is your leading scorer during the regular season, 77 games, 31 goals, which is great for him. 56 assists, 87 points in the playoffs, 12 games, 4 goals, 11 assists for 15 points. So Getzlaf's the leader again. 2014, 2015, they again passed 50 wins, 51, 24, and 7, the overall record. In the playoffs, they take out Winnipeg in 4 straight, then they took out Calgary in 5. So they were just cruising to that conference final where they would meet the Chicago Blackhawks, and they lost in 7. Great series between Anaheim and Chicago that year. Absolutely fantastic series. Getzlaf's the leading scorer for Anaheim, 77 games, 25 goals, 45 assists for 70 points. In the playoffs, 16 games, 2 goals, 18 assists, 20 points. And yeah, Getzlaf is definitely a playoff performer. 2015-2016, they finished 46, 25, and 11. And in the first round, they lose to Nashville in 7. This was where the channel was getting started, and that was an upset that I kind of saw because I thought Nashville was being underrated, and I felt that Anaheim was being overrated. Getzlaf's the leading scorer, 77 games, just the 13 goals, but 50 assists for 63 points. In the playoffs, 7 games played, 2 goals, 3 assists for 5 points. So we get to 2016-2017 for Anaheim. And in the first round, they take out Calgary in 4 straight, so much like here. Then in round 2, they beat Edmonton in 7. There was some controversy in the series between Anaheim and Edmonton, which I'm sure Oiler fans are still quite familiar with. And that led to, Anaheim knocks out Edmonton. A lot of complaints in Edmonton about how that takes place. But then Anaheim would lose in the conference final to Nashville in 6. So again, Nashville is that nemesis for the Anaheim Ducks. Getzlaf, 74 games, 15 goals, 58 assists, 73 points. So again, the goal scoring isn't great, but the assists are fantastic. In the playoffs, 17 games, 8 goals in those 17 games in the playoffs to go with 11 assists for 19 points. 2017-2018, this is the most recent year where Anaheim makes the playoffs. They finished 44, 25, and 13, but in the first round, they got swept by San Jose. Couldn't score goals. San Jose and Vegas sweep their series and made it look really easy on that collision course. And then, of course, Vegas would take out San Jose on their way to a Stanley Cup final. Now, Raquel was their leading scorer, 77 games, 34 goals, 35 assists, 69 points. So if I have a blind spot when it comes to Rickard Raquel and his abilities, it's because of this season. He looked really good that year, and I still think there's a 30-goal scorer in there somewhere. But in the playoffs, he just had the 1 goal in 4 games. And he hasn't been able to stay healthy and generate that kind of offense since then. 2018-2019, this is where things start to get kind of dark for Anaheim. 35, 37, and 10, no playoffs. Getzlaf's the leading scorer. 67 games, 14 goals, 34 assists, just the 48 points for him that year. 2019-2020, they finished 29, 33, and 9. No playoffs, so they didn't make the cutoff for the expanded playoffs. They were one of 7 teams that didn't get to play in that. Henrique's their leading scorer that year, 71 games, 26 goals, 17 assists, 43 points. And we're getting into the current time where this team needs offense. This is why Zegras is going to get plenty of opportunities this coming season to show what he can do offensively, because Anaheim desperately needs it. 2020-2021, 17, 30, and 9 was their record. That record was just brutal, and in part it was the division that they were in, just not good matchups for them. I would expect the record to be better this coming season. Obviously no playoffs. Maxime Comtois is the leading scorer in 55 games, 16 goals, 17 assists for 33 points. And he just yesterday signed a contract, which is very team-friendly with its cap hit. But for Anaheim, it does feel like it's probably going to be at least another year or 2 without playoffs before you get back into some solid playoff appearances for the Anaheim Ducks. Their all-time scoring leader in the playoffs is Getzlaf in 125 career playoff games, 37 goals, 83 assists, 120 points. And, of course, he re-signs with them this summer to continue his legacy in Anaheim. Corey Perry, 118 games, 36 goals, 53 assists, 89 points. He, of course, is now in Tampa after losing in a final with Montreal, losing in a final with Dallas, trying to get it that third time around. And, of course, he was part of the 2007 Stanley Cup winner. Solani, 96 games, 35 goals, 34 assists, 69 points, is number 3 on the all-time points list in the playoffs. It is a shame that Korea was not on that 2007 team, and that 2003 series in the final. That was a series where I genuinely was really hoping that Anaheim would just win one road game, and they just couldn't do it. It was home team wins every game, and it was a really good series, which sadly also was, as I said, the start of the downfall definitely for Korea, in that his health never was really where you'd want it to be after that. But there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.